Thank you for joining us. So, a little bit about Neeraj. He is a powerhouse because I cannot imagine that one person can do so much. He has a full time job. He's a software engineer with decades of experience working and building enterprise solutions. He's right now working with Microsoft. I met him many years ago. He has also been he is the chapter ambassador of Technovation India, growing Technovation and bringing more and more girls who are underrepresented to learn about technology. But while he has a full-time job, he's a Technovation chapter ambassador. He also completed his MBA, and he likes to write poems. So, Neeraj, that is amazing. I don't know where you get the energy and the dedication to do so much. So, why did you become why did you take on Technovation?
So definitely, I mean, one of the thing which I liked about Technovation is it is changing the world. So one of the factor initially which appealed me was obviously, Technovation is bridging the gender gap in the world, but also at the same time it is changing the world in a unique way. Girls are working on the real time problems; they are solving it through the mobile app. So they are helping the world through technology, which is amazing. I mean, so it is solving not the gender problem, but it is helping the world in many different ways. So that is what something appealed me about Technovation, and that is why I would like to contribute to Technovation as much as I can.
Thank you, Neeraj. And I think we could not have done what we are doing in India without you. So I think it's very mutually beneficial. So the world was very different last year. This year, it's still very different. I think there's a statistic that more than 7 billion people still are unvaccinated. And India just came out of a very, very horrific experience. So tell us what COVID was like last year, but also this year.
So definitely, COVID has changed the life of the people. It has affected all the aspect of our lives, so it has changed it completely. There was uncertainty, people were not knowing what to do, what is happening to their life. It has impacted healthcare, it has impacted economy, it has impacted the education sector. And not only these aspects, it has impacted people psychologically in a social effects also. So COVID has changed completely lives of people here. And fortunately, technology came to the savior. Technology has helped in the fight against the COVID. We were able to work remotely. Technology has helped in this aspect. People were able to give the orders for contact delivery. People got the machines, robotics, and dissemination of the information people were doing through the means of technology. And these are some of the aspects which, if technology was not there, had been very, very, very difficult for the people. While technology has helped in these many ways, but there are obviously challenges. For example, the education sector was badly hit. In India alone, 320 million students were impacted. They had nothing but uncertainty in their mind. For example, they were not sure whether they are going to give the exams or not. Schools closed, lockdown was imposed, their situation was definitely uncertain. They did not know what to do. We shifted the mode to the online learning. These same schools earlier did not allow the electronic gadgets in the classes, but we had shifted to the online mode of the learning. So but definitely where it helped is that people were getting the opportunity for the learning session online, but there were gaps. There is a digital divide in the world. There are many people who do not have access to the devices, to the internet. They do not have adequate space to attend the internet classes. They cannot get the support which is required from the parents and the teachers. So these are some of the lacunas. These were some of the challenges which people faced during this COVID time.
Yeah, and we're amplified, right? And everybody could see who's not coming.
Yeah.
Um, I think we finished our impact report from last year, and um, of course the girls benefited, but we were very concerned that the girls um, who don't have access to internet are not even represented in our data, right? Because the way we collect data is through an
Yes.
online survey. So if you're not if you're not connected to the internet, there's no way to even to share your voice. So I think that is a big area of focus for us going forward. Um, so, Neeraj, what were some strategies that you found was working to keep girls engaged? One of the things I've heard was that, I mean, women do most of the house cleaning work, even if they have jobs at home. But when children were kept at home during COVID, the girls were given sort of the household chores. So they weren't even getting time to learn online because like the whole family was so stressed, right? Like you were saying, psychological. um,
Mhm.
I'm wondering, like, what did you hear from the Technovation community? And you've been working with a whole range of schools, so I'm curious what were some of the details there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely did impact the life of people. But as I told you, people ordered robotics for cleaning, and they were actually very considerate when, even in the families, what I have seen that
Mm,
everybody was aware that this is the hardship. They have to come,
mm,
over it, and they need to face it together. So yeah, people were considerate, and though the load was more, but people somehow managed. I mean,
mm,
in a family, you have multiple people, so they were distributing the work.
mm,
So somehow people were able to manage these things. However, for the working parents it became more difficult,
mm,
because
mm,
if the husband and wife, they both are working, they need to attend their online meetings, and at the same time when their kids are expecting them to be there in the class, they cannot do that. So
mm.
that is where the kids are not getting the required attention and support from the parents.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where the poor parents have had no break.
Yes.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and that's when you value schools and teachers, right? Like where the children can go and it's a different life for them, and the parents can have some. Yeah, I think this is a very, very long test run for us, right?
Yes.
um so what surprised you in terms of how the community, I think you talked quite a bit about it, like how they were resilient,
Mhm.
but in terms of maybe the Technovation girls,
Mhm.
who participated, who didn't, and what was surprising to you in that, like compared to previous years?
So one thing I could definitely see, the positive aspect of lockdown. That
Mm,
lockdown accelerated the adoption of technology. I have seen that people who were reluctant to adopt to technology, they were very quick in adapting to this technology. So if we really see, the COVID crisis has speeded the acceleration of the technical adoption by many years.
yeah.
Now you see, and it's not in the education sector only; it's everywhere. Even if you look at the way people are ordering things, the way people are making payments, right? So definitely in education sector we could see it directly, that kids who are not comfortable with the online setup, because I remember last to last year many students, they willingly wanted to have the offline session, because they wanted to have the interaction with the mentors. And I mean, it's natural, right? All people are different. Some people feel comfortable in the offline setup, wherein they can collaborate with the people directly, they can interact with the people, right? But COVID did not give them any choice, and they were quick to adopt to technology. Now I see people are comfortable with the online setup as well. They understood that how it is going to work, so they were quick to adapt. This is what surprised me.
Yeah, I think me too. So many companies didn't want to do virtual mentoring before COVID. Now it's the only option, right?
Yes.
Which is great because then you can reach more communities that are not close to a tech company. So Neeraj, before we went live, we were talking a little bit about how India is interesting in. There's a very large percentage of women, young women, going into computer science undergraduate degrees, electrical engineering, electronics. But then once they enter the workforce, there's a huge attrition.
Yeah.
So, like in the US, people focus on the pipeline being big,
Mhm.
but there's tremendous attrition at every level. And but in India, it's more interesting because there's almost equality, like parity, 50-50, like you were saying in the entrance. So, what do
Mhm.
you think are some of the challenges there? And yeah, what can let's dig a little bit into that. Mhm.
So yeah, I think there are two aspects to it. So as you rightly mentioned that in the entry level technical jobs especially, the percentage is 50-50, 50% boys, 50% girls. But as they grow in their career, when they have 5 or 6 years of experience, the expectations become high from them, and people tend to spend more time. So it's like it is expected that they do their work, and especially in the IT companies, service companies, people spend more times. It's like spending more than 10 hours a day, and that is a very normal thing in Indian IT companies. Now that is where the problem comes. That is where I feel that when a girl is married and having kid, they might find it difficult to
Mm.
devote that much of time. So that could be one reason. Other reason I think could be a mental barrier or the filters, which is like part of our nurturing, wherein
Mm.
I feel that many girls feel that technology is not something they can do great. Maybe
Mm.
that mental block is there somewhere because of whatever reason. There are multiple reasons, right? So they tend to look for the other careers. Like, for
Mm.
example, even in the technology company, they go in the functional role. So
Mm.
they opt for a role like project manager, business
Mm.
analyst, right? Which are not much technical. So
Mm.
people don't need spend much time there. This is the belief
Mm.
people have. So maybe these are some of the factors, which is causing the dropout in the percentage of the girls in the higher
Mm.
level positions.
Those are very good points, Neeraj. And that means coming from you, and you have a very unique point of view, right? Like you're supporting young girls in school to build this mindset that they can tackle big problems. But then you're also very active in the tech sector as a software engineer. So I think you get to see both sides of it. So, what are some examples of things that we can do and that are existing, that are working to combat this issue?
I think the first thing we should definitely do is, and one thing which organizations are currently doing is, there are many companies, many IT companies. They have introduced a program which gives opportunity to girls who have taken a break, maybe due to marriage or the kids. They can come back and join the organization. This is such a good opportunity for them. There are many organizations which are reaching to the university students early in their career, when the engineers are in their first year, second year, third year. So the organizations prepare them and give them a feel that how
What
their
are some of these organizations?
for example, I know Microsoft is doing that. There
Mm.
is a program in which we reach out to the girls second year students, and we provide them mentorship so that we
Mm.
can prepare them better, for the Microsoft or any other company. So these girls have high possibility of cracking the interview,
Mm.
because they already know beforehand that how the process is going to be. They got comfortable, by the mentorship. They knew what are some of the areas wherein they need to prepare. So they have little edge over others. So these are some of the programs which many companies are providing. I think HCL is also one of the company which is providing such opportunity. So there are many companies. Now this is one aspect wherein the organizations are reaching to the girls and providing these opportunity. The other angle could be that we reach out at much early stage, like Technovation is doing. For
Mm.
example, when the kids are in school, we try to inspire them for the technology, and we provide them a curriculum which is interesting enough
Mm.
for them to explore. So so that they get the interest created in the field of technology, they choose their path, and they know beforehand that what their career is going to be. And then we inspire them, we equip them with the relevant skills. For example, as I told you, mental block, right? So
Mm.
not only the technology, maybe we should offer some courses which can tell them that they can do anything. I mean, there is nothing really stopping them from doing anything. So these courses which can inspire them, encourage them, will play a great role, because
Mm.
what we learn in during the childhood will remain with us, for the longer period of time. On the contrary, imagine if a girl is learning the technology in maybe graduation, when she is 14 years of age or 15 years of age, and she is touching the computer for the first time. How
Mm.
the situation do you imagine? There will be a drastic difference between the kids who have already played with the technology in schools. They are well equipped with the skills which are required in this field. So these are some of the points, which maybe schools, organizations, education organizations, should consider.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the situation in the big cities in India. For example, all the metropolitan cities, the situation is not that bad because there are facilities. The girls can join good colleges, good schools, and computer science is generally introduced at level 8th, even at in some cases level 5th. They have some understanding. But as we go to tier 2 city and the rural area, that is where the big problem lies. Maybe they get to see the computer in their graduation, not prior to that, and which is a big problem. And it can definitely hamper their career, in the technology field, because you have to be prepared.
So, Neeraj, maybe we talk a little bit about that because India is still um, there's a very large percentage of rural people.
Yeah.
Public school sector doesn't have as much funding to be able to invest in infrastructure, but also teachers who are equipped to teach computer science, right? So I know, like, you personally would reach out to some of these public schools, government schools. I- I'm curious, like, it seems a very daunting task for a teacher to provide this kind of support when girls don't even know how the mouse works or how things work. Then um, how do you think, like, a large scale program could be set up, right? Like, where we could reach girls like this, but also change their mindset. So I feel like the simplest thing is to say iPads, Chromebooks, whatever, right? Like, but I think the harder part is, like, how do you change the teacher's mindset? So how would you build out a large scale program targeting these girls?
So I feel COVID crisis has given us such a good opportunity, wherein I'm seeing opportunity in this calamity also. Right now we are in a mode wherein people have already shifted their focus to online learning,
Mm,
wherein people are already prepared that they will not probably see the interaction with the individuals. They have to learn themselves. Maybe maximum they would get is the online support, right? So if we can work on the content, if we can create content in such a way that we can even reach out to the remotest and the poorest people in the country, that would play a great role. So I understand that not everybody will have access to the tablets and laptops, but I think a good number of people in India at least have access to the smartphone. If we can
mm,
create a content, which can be downloaded and does not require the internet access every time, and it is self explanatory, or it is such interested that kids are exploring it, understanding by themselves, it will not only equip them with the relevant skill, but it will also allow them opportunity. I mean, right now there is a huge potential. For example, if I talk of industry, there is a huge potential of startups in this country now, right? So why we always think about joining a job? Why not girls should focus on the entrepreneurship, and they even generate the jobs for others. And this is the right opportunity wherein all the business models, the traditional business models have now shifted towards the online mode. So technology really can play a great role in that as well. So I
mhm.
think these are some of the things we should consider.
Yeah, I like that self-directed learning part, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think even the Technovation curriculum relies on the adults to help translate. Um, but I think there's room there to make the content more accessible. So I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into your own experience. So you are a graduate of BITS Pilani, and that's not an easy organization or a university to get into. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
what were your goals as a young kid? Because I know, like, the Indian culture is a strong culture of sort of go to a few colleges or universities, so it's highly competitive. um, but then I'm curious, like, what were your goals when you were a kid, and what you learned in the education system, and
Mhm.
now having worked in a multinational company and also sort of seeing sort of the experience with Technovation, how would you redesign the education system?
Okay, so I give you some background that I was initially a commerce graduate, so I was not
Mm,
a computer science student. But I had a great interest in the computer science because when I finished my graduation, it was 2001, and the dot com boom came, and I was really interested. I learned JavaScript, Java myself, and I was really interested. So I tried for Master of Computer Application. I got through, and that is where for example, digital electronics was my first subject, which I was studying for first time. I had no clue about that, but somehow I managed. But then I realized that our curriculum is very rigid in most of the universities. To look at it. So, for example, I as a kid or I as a adult, may want to learn something else, but I do not have that flexibility. For example, if there is a C++ in your curriculum, you cannot learn Python, right? You cannot go for C sharp. You have to learn that. So why not provide a dynamic curriculum to the kids so that whatever they like to do, although there is a little element of flexibility wherein you can opt for your core, your electives, but it's not that much. I feel if we can give dynamic curriculum to our next generation, it will really be helpful for them, because every individual is different. For example, if I may not have interest in Python programming, I may be having some interest artificial intelligence. So what if I'm not good at that? So my score suffers, right? Eventually my time is limited. Even though I don't want to spend my time for example, Python programming, I have to devote it because I have to score the marks. So our traditional education system at some level force students to learn what they want. They do
Mm-hmm.
not give or provide ample opportunity to learn whatever they want to do. So
Yeah.
this is one element which I feel that we should really relook at it.
Yeah, I think one thought is also many children actually don't know what they're interested in. I think you may be unusual where you have a clear interest. Many times, a child hasn't experienced that much of life to even know what they're interested in. And I think the emphasis on high scoring of marks in India, I'm also a product of the education system, to me feels very oppressive, right? Like, where, you know what, these don't matter in the workplace. Like, being able to solve real problems is are those skills that are kind of needed, right? So okay, so what is your advice? I know, like, education organizations all over the world are grappling with the digital divide, right? Like, it's not just limited to a few countries. It's not even just a problem for rich countries or poor countries. Everybody's had that problem. So what is your advice, like practical advice, to how can we reach more children who may not be online?
So yeah, as I said previously, I mean, it may be difficult, very difficult, if we try to give a laptop or the tablet to all the students. Practically, it is very difficult. However, if we try to push the digital content to them, which is self-explanatory, which does not require the internet, that is a much viable option. And I think in this time, that seems to me a perfect option. And there are ways to do that, right? There are ways we can provide the offline content, and at least the smartphone, every I mean, most of the individual will have. At least in a family, you will have one smartphone which can be used. So pushing content to these students will be a great idea, I feel so.
Mm. That's actually true, and I've
Yeah,
heard that quite loudly, and it's a very tangible step, right?
yeah.
So Neeraj, we're almost closing towards the end of our chat. So what is one story that inspired you last year?
Okay, so yeah, there are many stories which inspires me every day, every year. But yeah, one of the story which I want to share is from one of the team. That team Kentavit, who was the
Hmm.
global winner from the India, Aditi Jain and
Hmm.
Archana
Hmm.
Jain.
Hmm.
So I'm really inspired with the team because I saw that they participated first year, they couldn't make it to semi-final round. Even in the second year, I think in third year they could make it to semi-final round. They did not stop. They tried, and finally, I believe in fifth year they could reach to final round. They were the global winners, and what you expect from the individuals. Generally, after reaching that point, people tend to stop. Okay, what after this? We have already achieved this. We are the winner. They did not stop. Surprisingly, even they participated this year. So I was
Wow,
really amused. Yeah. So determination is the key of success. That is something they really
that's
taught
so
me.
cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it really amused me. I mean, I was very inspired by these young kids, that they are very determined for the success. I mean, they are trying everything. They did
Wow.
not stop after that. Even they continued their participation, which is really a great thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So Neeraj, I know you write poems, which is amazing. What is one book we should read that'll make us better human beings?
I feel we should read, autobiography of the people who are great. For
Mm,
example, in India, we had a former, president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Azad,
mm,
and he was a great man. And
mm.
there
He
are
was a
several.
physicist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who
Mm-hmm.
who created the Agni missile?
Mm,
And yeah, so there is an autobiography of Dr.
mm.
APJ Kalam,
I
Wings
haven't
of
read it. Mm-hmm.
Wings of Fire. I think you should read it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we should definitely, follow these great
Mm,
people, and definitely, their experiences, their sharing of their lessons from life
mm.
definitely help everyone, in their life.
Yeah. Those are my favorite type of books to read because you need that fuel, right? It's
Yes.
not easy, and you hear, like, you read and you spend time going through their life and their challenges. Yeah, so I will definitely get that book. Last question, Neeraj. What should we be working on with intention this year?
So I think there are a couple of points. One, we mentioned digital divide is a big problem. We should try to tackle that problem in some way. And then we should work on the curriculum that is, what would that would create interest among the kids, which is self-explanatory, and which could really, guide kids without much support or help. So maybe we should look at that angle. And then we should create a content that could not only teach them, but that could also inspire them.
Mm,
So the young kids, they need inspiration. They need inspiration, so we need to really work upon the content that could really inspire them.
yeah. I think not just young kids, everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all need, like, to dream bigger, think bigger,
Yes.
right? Like, you and to think about the other person, not just our own problems, right? So, um, absolutely awesome, Neeraj. This was such a fun like conversation to have with you and to hear your experiences, your perspectives. So thank you so much. And I know you had your COVID shot yesterday, so I hope you are feeling fine. Thank you for doing this, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Tara, once again, for providing me this opportunity to share my experience here, and thanks a lot.
All right. Bye, everyone.